Algebra 1, introduction. All right, here we go. Oh, that's not it. All right, sorry for the delay. Here we go. Now, again, please look up here. And I'm telling you, it just is going to take practice for you to think like this. All right? But again, number one, I just feel like everybody should be able to just tell me right off the bat from yesterday. Everybody should be able to say 8 pretty clearly on that. And the reason why that, again, is 8 is because 64 is a perfect square. However, now 18, is that a perfect square? No. Now listen, it's this simple. What perfect square is a factor of 18? What perfect square is a factor of 18? 9, thank you. 6 is not a perfect square. So please watch up here. It's this simple. It's this simple. All right, I told everybody's on the same page. If you did yesterday's assignment, you knew how to do square roots, you're right with everybody else. No one in here is smarter than you just because they've learned something else in the past. Everybody's on the same level. All you have to do is pay attention. All right, and we're building up. All right, the second you stop, you're going to get behind. And this is the section that builds and builds and builds and builds. All right, if you don't do your work, you're in trouble. All right, so here we go. 18. Now, everybody under 18, do this. Negative square root 9 times 2. I don't understand why this is hard. All right, everybody good with that so far? Now, what's the square root of 9? 3. Now, the answer to this problem is negative 3 radical 2. Now, that literally means negative 3 times the square root of 2, but is it necessary to put a times sign in between there? No. All right, anybody have any questions? Can we take the square root of 2? No, we don't. 2 is not a perfect square, so that is the answer. That's all there is to it. All right, so now I'm going to look over to number 3. What perfect square is in 32? 8 is not a perfect square. 4. So everybody do this. Square root 4 times 8. What's the square root of 4? 2. So most people think the answer is 2 radical 8, but most people are what? Wrong. Because is there a perfect square in 8? What perfect square is in 8? 2 is not a perfect square. 4. So now watch. Now what's the square root of 4?
2.
When I pull it out, you are multiplying. When you pull it out, you are multiplying. So now this is 2 times 2 times square root of 2. But what's 2 times 2? 4. I just wrote that step in there. All right, so the answer is 4 radical 2. Now, personally, I don't think of the square root of 32 as 4 times 8. I think of the square root of 32 as what? That's correct. 16 times 2. What's the square root of 16? 4. So my answer is 4 radical 2. So your objective is to try to find the largest perfect square. It makes the problem easier. But some kids don't see 32 as 2 times 16. Most kids see it as what? 4 times 8. And they think they have the right answer. All right, come on, Thomas. Don't be distracted. What? 16 times 2 is 32. And then what's the square root of 16? What is the problem? You good? You sure? Do you see I get the same answer if I went this direction or if I just broke it down right here? Always look for the highest perfect square. All right, always look for the highest perfect square. What? They're the same answer. 4 radical 2, 4 radical 2. This one over here just took me less time to get there. What? I'm not sure what you're saying, man. I want you to sit up. What is the answer? Negative 3 radical 2. So I'm Trump. What's your question? Seriously. What is the answer to number 2? Why don't you tell me that? Why? What's the square root of 9? So the square root of this answer goes on the outside. Is there a square root of 2? No, so that stays on the inside. I'm going to start over because I can see something is you're thinking and I obviously wasn't clear. So here we go. What is the square root of 32 the same as? Right, that's how I want you to say it. So what's the square root of 16? So I'm not sure what you're asking me. That's the answer. Right? You sure? I know you're trying, so I'm really listening. You sure? All right, we'll go on. And I promise you, the more we do, that's why there's 100 problems. The more you do, the better you're going to see it. All right? And it does get harder as we go down the page. All right? So that's what I'm saying. Come on, stay on your toes. Be ready. Listen, what? What? Okay, listen to what he's saying. What's the square root of 4? Can I break that down? No, you've already taken the square root. It's not a square root anymore. It's not a square root. It's underneath the radical, or what I used to call it. It's underneath the house, right? That's the only time you can take the square root. All right, here we go. All right, guys, help me. What perfect square is in 50?
25.
Come on, 25 times 2. So now, what's the square root of 25? 5. 5 radical 2. Again, I'm happy to hear some of you else are participating. Everybody should be able to say, when I say what's perfect square in 50, everybody should say 25 times 2. All right, take a look at that while I answer the phone. Make sure you're good. All right. Try the next one. Come on. Hello? Okay, so number 5. 400, is that a perfect square? Yeah, so that answer is just what? 20. I'm happy with that. Come on, Ian. What?
Is there a way to check your answer?
Yeah, 20 times 20 is 400. Oh, like what?
Let's just say number 3, right? Is there a way to check your answer?
Yeah, okay. So you can do 4 times 4 is times 2. That's how I know I'm right. But listen to me. You're not going to have to check your answer because you know the perfect squares. Truthfully. You hear me? That's why it doesn't matter to me. I don't need to check. I know what the perfect squares are. You have a calculator. Break it down with the calculator if you don't know the facts. All right, here we go. Come on. Uh-oh. Now, here is the first part. Might be a little confusing. Square root means you're taking them out in pairs. For example, the square root of 9 is the same as the square root of 3 squared. Everybody hear me? So the square and the square root do what to each other? Cancel out. So the rule for variables is you take them out in groups of 2. So if you're going to take them out in groups of 2, that means all you have to do is divide by 2. So it would be what? X to the third. Now, how do I know that's the answer? Kind of going back to what Ian was asking me. How do I know x to the third is the answer? Because if I take x to the third and multiply by x to the third, I get what? X to the sixth. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So anytime you want to find the square root of a variable, you do what? Divide the exponent by what? 2. I can't help you with that. That's a rule. All right. If you can't remember the rule, you write it down. All right. So the answer was x cubed. There's no number there, so that's the answer. Uh-oh. Number 7, we have a problem. Does 7 divide by 2 evenly? No. So here's how you break down a radical. To break down a radical, does everybody agree x to the 6th times x is x to the 7th? Now, can I divide 6 by 2? Yes. So this comes out as what? X to the third. And then what stays behind? Times x. He has no friend to come out with. You have to come out in pairs. All right? You have to come out in pairs. All right? So you're always dividing by 2. 7 does not divide by 2. So you break it down to 6 and 1. All right? Now, number 8. What's the square root of 16? 4. X to the what power? Now, everybody says 4. But it's what? 8. Because it's not a number. What do you do to exponents? You divide by 2. Write yourself a note. You should punish yourself. Every time you make a mistake, write the rule. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. All right? So 4x to the what? 8. Now this is the one that's usually on the test because people accidentally do to the 4th power. All right? Let's look at 9. Uh-oh. 3 x to the, don't say 3,
To the 4.
to the 4th with what behind?
1x.
X left behind. Now, of course, that's a lot of mental math, so we're going to write that out for you. Is 9 a perfect square?
No.
Is 9 a
Yes.
perfect square? So you leave it alone. Is x to the 9th a perfect square? No, so you break it down to x to the 8th times x. Everybody hear me? So now, this is a perfect square. What's square root of 9? What's square root of x to the 8th?
4.
There you have it, guys. There you go. It's a pattern. Come on, we're going to keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Here we go. Is 40 a perfect square? No. What perfect square is in 40? 4 times 10. Beautiful. So we write down 4 times 10. Is x to the 8th a perfect square? Yes. So you leave x to the 8th. Now, circle. What's the square root of 4? 2. What is the square root of x to the 8th?
4.
X to the 4th. What's left behind? Come on, guys. We're getting it. Aiden, you still with me? With me? Hey. Don't be afraid to speak up. That's what the problem with some of you. You just wait till the end. I'm already on 20. Now you're like, oh my gosh. Which one? Do you know what I did to 40? Why did I change 40 to 4 times 10? Because now 4 is a perfect square. Is x to the 8th a perfect square? Leave it alone. I know it's a perfect square because I can divide it by 2. I can divide it by 2. What?
Why do you take the x to the 4th out of the...
Because I'm taking the square root of it.
Oh.
Okay? Here we go. Number 11. Is 25 a perfect square? So I leave it alone. Is x to the 7th a perfect square? So I break it down to x to the and x. Now, what's the square root of 25? Square root of x to the 6th. What's left behind? Wow. Okay. Come on. Some of you guys speak up. I keep hearing same voices. Somebody else take a chance. Jack, even if you're going to be wrong, take a chance. Come on. Join the club. It's the best club you'll ever be in. Math club. Here we go. How do I break 12 down? Somebody. Not 6 and 2. 6 is not a perfect square. 2 is not a perfect square. 4 and 3. What do I do with x to the 5th? X4 and x. Wow, thank you. 6 is not a perfect square. 2 is not a perfect square. But 4 is. Right? You're trying to find a perfect square. 4 is a perfect square. X to the 4th is a perfect square. What's square root of 4? Square root of x to the 4th. What's left behind? Beautiful. Come on. All right, let's find 13. Is a squared and b to the 4th a perfect square? Yes, so I have to do what? Divide by 2. So that answer is ab squared. Carter, what's the matter?
Oh, I thought you said you couldn't, remember 3? Say you couldn't divide by 2.
You're having a trouble with numbers and variables. You hear me? Variables, you divide by 2. Numbers, you look for perfect squares.
Oh, I see.
Okay, 14. Everybody. Come on, Leighton. Tell me the answer to 14.
So it would be 7 and
7.
7. Oh yeah, just 7.
And then,
A to the 4th.
and then,
X to the 4th. Oh, it's to the 6th.
wow. Good job. 7, a to the 4th, x to the 6th. All right, here we go. Is 28 a perfect square? What perfect square is in 28? 4 and? Yes. 4 times 7. X to the what? No! Thank you. X to the 8th and x. Do I have to break down y to the 6th? Is that a perfect square? Yes. Okay, we're making some progress. Square root of 4. Square root of x to the 8th. Square root of y to the 6th. Radical what? Beautiful. Radical 7x. Very good. What?
Why can't you divide 4 and a half for x?
We already took the square root of that. If you're on the outside, you're done. If you're on the outside, you're done. Good. Miss Hulsman.
How do you know to put the 7x on the
Because what's the square root of 7? We don't know. What's the square root of x? We don't know. That's why it's on the inside. You can't take the square root. It's got to stay inside. You got to have a friend to go outside the square root. These guys don't have any friends. So they have to stay behind. Some of you are definitely know what that feels like. Here we go. 17. Is 20 a perfect square? No, we break it down to what? Okay, where's 16? All right, here we go. 16. Good morning. Good morning. 16, what do I got?
16.
Not 4 and 8.
Oh, 16 and 2.
Yeah, 16 and 2. All right, m to the 7th. M6. All right. M6 and what? And then to the n to the 11th. All right, now Here we go. Perfect square, perfect square, perfect square. Final answer. 4. M to the what? Third. N to the what? What's left behind? Wow, you're getting it. Somebody? Ian?
Yeah, I'm just really confused.
All right, we'll go slower on 17 for you.
Bit fast.
Here we go. That's all right. Here we go. 20. Break 20 down for me.
Okay, so 10 and 2,
No.
5,
Yes, because.
5 times 4 is 20.
Yep. But which one is a perfect square? Yes, you see, when you said 10 times 2, neither one of those is a perfect square. Agreed? All right, so here we go. All right. Does x to the 10 need to be broken down? Is it divisible by 2?
Yes.
Then no. Does y to the 5th need to be broken down?
Yes.
So that's,
Y 4.
there you go, buddy. Now, everybody, please look at that before I go any further. Honestly, it is not ever going to be harder. It's not ever going to be harder. All right? The first thing you have to do is break down the number into the perfect square. 20 is not a perfect square, so 2 and 10 does not work because 2 is not a perfect square and 10 is not a perfect square. So 20 breaks down to 4 times 5. If the variable is even, leave it alone. If the variable is odd, you just subtract 1. Ian, you good? All right, now, Ian, what's the square root of 4? What's the square root of x to the 10th? And what's the square root of y to the 4th? Yes, that's how easy this is. 2x to the 5th, y squared. What's left behind? 5y. Simple, simple, simple.
You take out everything.
You take everything that's a perfect square. Come on.
When you're writing it, there's no like this number that like 4. Does that have to be in front? Or could it be like 5 times 4 in the next?
If it's a perfect square, it goes on the outside. I don't care if you write 5 times 4 or 4 times 5, if that's what you're asking. All right, here we go. Next, 18. Is 100 a perfect square?
Yes.
Yeah, this one's really easy. 10 what? What? 10? Well, someone stop. Someone tell me the answer. Go. Not even close. Wow. 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 Nice. Very nice. 10b squared radical a. The point being, can a be made a perfect square? That stays behind. 100 is a perfect square. b to the 4th is a perfect square. That's it. Simple. All right, here we go. 19. 75 breaks down to what? 25 times 3. Do I have to break down x to the 8th? What about y cubed? Right. Okay, now come on. What's the square root of 25? Square root of x to the 8th. Square root of y squared. What's left behind? 3y. Now, do I have to technically put the 1 there? No, I don't really have to put the 1 there. All right, I just put it there to show you that 2 divided by 2 is what? 1. Yes, Thomas. Good job, Thomas. Anybody else? Jack, you all right back there? Jack, over here. All right. All right, 20. Now, most people don't know how 98 breaks down. Who can tell me besides Carter? 98. What is 98? What? Yeah, 49 times 2. Thank you very much. 49 times 2. All right, so here we go. Breaking this down. Thank you very much. 49 times 2. X, 6, X. Y, 4, Y. Everybody write that down. What's the square root of 49?
7.
Square root of X to the 6th.
3.
Square root of Y to the 4th.
2.
What's left behind?
2.
2,
XY.
2XY.
2xy.
All right, I'm pretty happy with you. Later in the future, we will show you how to handle that, but I'm not worried about 21 right now. Let's have some more fun. Here, I'm going to go down the page. I'm going to go down the page and do as much as I can, as much as we can. Please, please, please. Come on, move it. You should be getting faster. All right? If you don't know perfect squares, this is hard. All right? Let's go. Lots of problems. 8, square root of 8, what does that become? 4 and 2. Square root of 4. So my answer is what? 2 radical 2. All right? Is everybody good with that?
Okay,
What?
I'm just
All right. Number 3. Okay. Listen, right off the bat here. Your calculator can help you out, but let me try to help you out. Right? If the last 2 numbers are divisible by 4, then that number is divisible by 4. All right? So it is 84 divisible by 4. Yes. So now please watch again, because I don't want you using your calculator so much. Just look. 4 times. How many times does 4 go into 38?
9.
4 goes into 38 9 times. 9 times 4 is 36. There's 2 left over. 2 goes, or 4 goes into 24 how many times? 4, 6. So there you have 4 and 96. Is everybody with me? However, square root of 4 is what? So now I have 2 radical 96. Now, does 4 go into 96?
No.
Well, 4 goes into 100, right? 100 minus 4 is 96. So I know 4 goes into 96. How many times does 4 go into 100? 25. So 4 would go into 96. What? 24, guys. Come on, I'm trying to show you how to think about numbers a little better. 24 times 4. So what is the square root of 4 again? Is there a 2 already on the outside? So you multiply those together. What do I get? 2 times 2 today is? Wow. 4, radical 24. However, boring. Look at 24 breaks down to what? 4 and 6. All right. So now 4 times 6. What's the square root of 4? 2 times 4. 8 radical 6. Miss Hulsman, thank you, girl.
I thought you said you were multiplying.
How did I get this guy right here, right? So what's the square? I'm going to show you. What's the square root of 4? All right. So 2, right? But there's already a 2 out there. Shh. You with me now, right? All right. Come on. Now, if, of course, you were brilliant, you could say 384 is obviously 64 times 6, but most people don't know that. What's the square root of 64? 8. So that would have been the fastest way. But it's kind of hard to see 64 there. All right, so you just break it down into the ones that you can see. What? What's 4 times 2? So look, I'm showing you. What's the square root of 4? There's a 4 out here already. What do you do with that? Come on. Come on. It's all right. Sit up. Come on. It's not funny. Holding me up. All right. Here we go. Now I'm looking at the square root of 80. Who can tell me what perfect square is in 80? Not 8 and 10. Not 40 and 2. 4 and 20 is okay. Or because 4 is a perfect square. So come on. Square root 4 times 20. What's the square root of 4? So now I have 2 radical 20. Is there a perfect square in 20? 4 and 5. So here we go. 2 square root 4 times 5. Okay, Miss Hulsman, what's the square root of 4? There's a 2 out there already, so it becomes 4. The answer, 4 radical 5. I wish everybody in here would know 80 as 16 times 5. That's on almost every test. All right? 16 times 5 is 80. That's quickest because now square root of 16 is 4. All right, 128. I want everybody to look at 128. Divide that by 2. What's 128 divided by 2? 64, right? Everybody see that? So 128 is 64 times 2. So what's the square root of 128 really? 8 radical 2. Now some of you are like, well, I didn't like that way. Well, you could divide 128 by 4 and do it the long way. Does everybody agree? What's the square root of 64, Miss Hulsman? Well, is that a question? 8 times 8 is what? There you go. We just confirmed. Square root of 64 is 8. All right, here we go. With 210. Does everybody agree? I can divide by 7, right? Please watch. Or we can say 21 times 10. That's 3 times 7. That's 2 times 5. So does 210 even break down? There is no perfect square in 210. That was annoying. No, it's just the square root of 210. It doesn't break down. All right, now how do I know it doesn't break down? Because I broke it down to its prime factors. All right, I broke it down to those prime factors. All right, what perfect square is in 63? 9 times 7. Come on, come on. Square root of 9. 3 radical 7. All right, here we go. What perfect square is in 12? 4 and 3. So 2 radical 3. All right, now here we go. I'm on 392. I don't really mind if you use your calculator, so take your calculator out. Does everybody agree it's even, right? So you could divide it by what? Yeah, if you divide it by 4, it's going to be what? 4 times 98. Is that correct? Now, what does 98? We already did this one. What's 98? 49 times 2. Or are you trying to put these things into your mind? What?
Oh, no.
So now watch, guys. So this becomes 2 radical 98, right? And then 98 breaks down to 2 times 49. All right, Miss Hulsman, what's square root of 49? So there's a 2 already out here. So what do I do with the 7 and the 2? That's right. That's why the answer is 14 radical 2. All right, once again, I'm doing a whole bunch of work up here. All right, hopefully you got that written down. Is there a perfect square in 30? No. So the answer is just square root of 30. Now I'm going to give you a little hint. 200. What's the largest perfect square in 200? Stop and listen to what I'm saying. 200. 2 times 100. Come on. 2 times 100. What's the square root of 100? 10 radical 2. 10 radical 2. All right, moving forward. What? You good? All right, here we go. There's already a number out in front. Take your calculator, 294. What should I divide by, Chloe? Divide by 4, right? Let's try divide by 4.
73 and a half.
Oh, so it doesn't go evenly.
2.
All right, so let's divide it by 2. What is that?
147.
Okay, so 147 times 2. Yesterday we talked about 147. Add the digits up. What's 1 plus 4 plus 7? 12, so it must be divisible by 3. So everybody do 147 divided by 3.
49.
So 49 times 3 times 2. Now look, I'm really trying to help you with the understanding of the numbers. All right, does everybody understand that? These are just old problems that you're supposed to remember. Is everybody hearing me? So now, what is the square root of 49? What's in front? So the answer is negative 35 radical. What's left behind? 3 times 2, which is 6. That's the answer. Is everybody with me? All right. Now, we already broke 32 down a bunch. What is 32? 16 times 2, right? So this would be 16 times what? 16 times 20. Now, again, I'm just looking around the room. If you're just writing these answers as we go, you're going to be lost next week. You should be thinking about, hey, what is he talking about, 16 times 20? We've done 32 at least twice. All right, you should be able to tell me 320 is 16 times 20. Now, what's square root of 16? There's already a 2 out there. 8 radical 20. Are we done? No, because 20 is 4 and 5. 8. 4 times 5. What's square root of 4? There's already an 8. 16 radical 5. I can't tell you how many times we're going to do 98, and some of you still don't know what 98 breaks down to. 49 times 2, because that's the third time now we've done it. That's the third time we've done 98. Still some of you are like, what are you talking about? Well, that's what I'm saying. You got to think about the numbers as you're doing them. You can't just write them down. You got to think about the numbers. All right? So 98 again is 49 times 2. What's square root of 49? There's already an 8 on the outside. 56 radical 2. Good job. All right. 112. I'm just going to divide it by 4. What's 112 divided by 4? 28. So now what's square root of 4? So there's an 8. 16 radical, but 28 has a 7 and 4. Thank you. 16. 7 times 4. Square root of 4. Now, I shouldn't have to say what 2 times 16 is. 32. That's like the 5th time we've done it now. 32 radical 7. Uh-oh. 20 is what? 4 and 5. What's square root of 4? Negative out in front. Negative 2 radical 5. All right? Yeah, square root of 144 is what? 6 times 12. Come on. 72. What's the matter? What's the matter? You got it, right? Square root of 144 is what? 12. The number in front is a 6. 6 times 12, 72. All right, 512 divided by 4. Let's do that. 6 times 4 times 128. Square root of 4. Just hold up. 2, right? So what's on the outside? 12 radical 128. Okay, divide by what? Hold up. Uh-oh. Just stay with me. 12 times 4 times what? 32, right? What's square root of 4? 2 times 12. 24 radical 32. Now you know 32 is what? 16 times 2. What's square root of 16? 4 times 24. 96 radical 2. All right. Listen, guys, I think we will try to finish this up on Monday. All right, we'll finish it up on Monday. All right, please, if you're worried about your grade, try practicing this over the weekend. All right, practice over the weekend.